Okay, so we're actually going to be on Wednesday today, but I wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to all the fantastic students because I had multiple people approach me and point out that 12 hours is not the correct answer for this problem. And I am amazed and proud and so happy because they are right. It says how much more time will she need to complete the project. So technically I have to take this 12 hours, subtract my 9 hours, and with that, the actual answer to this problem is 3 hours. So kudos to all of you, and it was not just one person, it was multiple people that pointed out that I had that answer right, and I appreciate that more than you know, because that shows that you are really using your critical thinking skills and that you're taking time to really answer the problem. And teachers sometimes make mistakes, so thank you for pointing that out, and I will need to make that change for next year on the video. So here we go ahead and start on Wednesday. This problem is going to be challenging because this is probably something you have not seen up to this point. This is going to be a ratios and proportions problem, and it's dealing with tax and purchasing some different items. So this is going to be really a preview into the whole next unit, which I love because this is something that you are going to use for the rest of your life, and I think it's very practical knowledge. So I'm going to buy, or Jose is going to buy 1.29 pounds of turkey. 1 pound of turkey is $5.99, and he's going to pay a tax rate of 7%. So we want to figure out if he's buying 1.29 pounds of the turkey at $5.99 a pound, and then he has to pay 7% tax, what should he expect his final bill to be? So the first thing I need to do is I need to take my $5.99 for 1 pound, and I'm going to multiply that by 1.29 pounds. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and set my multiplication out like this. And I'm going to multiply out as quickly as possible. 81. 9 times 9 is again 81, which makes 90. Bring up my 9. 9 times 5 is 45. Plus 9 is 54. I use X's for my placeholders. 2 times 9 is 18. And put my 8 in this place and bring up my 1. 2 times 9 is 18. Plus 1 is 19, bring up my 1, and then 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Okay, now I have to do my final amount here, which is just by 1, so it's going to be 5. Oops, excuse me there. Very easy to make mistakes. I need to put 2 placeholders here. Okay, again, because I'm now on my third number, and this is going to be 599. Okay, I'm going to add down 1 plus nothing is 1. 0 plus 8 is 8. 4 plus 9 is 13, plus 9 is 22. So I'm going to put my 2, bring up my other 2 up here. 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 1 is 8, plus 9 is 17. Bring up my 1. Okay, 1 plus 1 and 5 is 7. So, looking at this, I'm going to go ahead and transfer this number 77281, and I'm going to now move my decimal. I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2 spaces. 3, 4 spaces. So I'm going to start right here, move it 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So I'm going to pay $7.72, and then I have some other amounts here. Now with money, no amount is ever going to look like this in money. We always round to the hundredths place because that's going to be the nearest cent. So this 8, 5 or more, let it soar. I'm going to go ahead and round this up to 7.73. Okay, so that's how much Jose is buying his turkey for. Now, is he done? No, he's not, because when he goes to check out, his $7.73, the U.S. government, or the state government, I guess, is going to say we need, or the county, is going to say that we need a part of your money to go to taxes. And so to do that, we need to say 7% of your purchase is going to go to taxes. So 7%, I need to figure out what is 7% of 7.73. Now I could use the formula of is over of equals percent over 100, which is, and I could fill in what is 7% of 773 and get a value here. I could do that and do the cross multiplication. I start to teach students a way to do percents a little bit faster, which is to take the percent, and anytime you're multiplying, you just take your percent of 7%, and you move the decimal 2 places to the left to make it into a decimal. So now I'm going to take 773 and I'm going to multiply that by 0.07. That amount that's produced is going to be the amount that is taxed. It's not going to be my final answer, but it is going to be the amount that's taxed. So I'm going to need more paper because this problem is getting quite long. So I'm going to take my 773, let me move this up, and I'm going to multiply by 0.07. 7 times 3 is 21. The 1 goes in the first place. I bring up the 2. 7 times 7 is 49. Plus 2 is 51. 1 and then 5. And then 7 times 7 again is 49. Plus 5 is 54. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Move it 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my tax, again, I can't have 5411. I'm going to round to this place because, again, that's how money works. I'm in the hundredths place. So 1, I can't round up. I'm going to round down. So 0.54. So 54 cents is how much I am paying in taxes. So I'm going to come back over here. So this answer is 0.54. And we'll put a 0 here just to make it nice and round. Okay, I need to actually add this back because my total is going to be what the turkey costs plus the amount for tax. So I'm going to take the 773. I'm going to add 54 cents. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 5 is 2. Bring up the 1. And I have $8.27 is the total for my turkey. Now, this is a lot of steps, and I know that this can be really overwhelming, especially when you first start to calculate this math. Just stick with it. Like I mentioned a few times, 7th grade is going to really be the first year where you're having to do a lot of multi-step type problems. So don't let it get you down if it's taking you a little bit of time. Okay, next problem. John has 8 1/4 gallons of gas in his truck. John can drive his truck 16.5 miles on each gallon of gas. How many miles can John drive his truck? So I'm going to say, go ahead and switch this into an improper fraction using reverse C where I multiply and then I add. So 4 times 8 is 32 plus 1 is 33/4. Okay, so that's how much gas he has in his car. John can drive his truck 16.5 miles on each gallon. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to create another improper fraction using reverse C. 2 times 16 is 32 plus 1 is 33/2. Now, I'm going to take this amount and I'm going to need to multiply because, again, this is how much gas I have. This is how many miles I can travel. So I'm going to multiply because for each one here, I'm going to have that much going towards it. So multiplying out 33 and 33. And again, I'm going to do my math very quickly here, is 1089 over 4 times 2, which is 8. Now, I think what I'm going to do, it's about how many miles, so I can round if I want to. I'm going to figure out how many times 8 goes into 1089, just to figure out how many miles he can travel. This answer is not wrong. Again, it's not wrong, but in this case, it's not about how many miles. 1089 over 8, that's not really something that we can quite understand. So again, this guy falls off, goes into the house, this guy comes to the outside. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up our long division problem. 8 obviously can't go into 1. 8 goes into 10 one time. 10 minus 8 is 2. Drop down my 8. Okay, 8 goes into 24, 8 goes into 28 3 times, which is 24. So 3 times 8 is 24. Okay, bring down, subtract, it leaves me with the 4. Go ahead and bring down the 9. 8 can go into 49. How many times? 6 times 8 is 48, and I'm left with 1. Okay, so ultimately, whenever I have a remainder down here, I could, oops, excuse me, I went off the screen. Whenever I have a 1 down here, I could keep going and I could make this into a decimal, but I'm going to make this into a mixed number because 136 is actually a fine answer because this problem does say about how many, but 136 and 1, because that's the remainder over, I know that's hard to see, 1 over 8. Okay, so that's how you can actually create mixed numbers from these long division problems. Or I could keep going out with this and I could have a decimal, but this works fine, so we're going to keep it that way. All right, what is the product of negative 1/3 and negative 4/5 plus 2/3? So let's go ahead and do this out, and we're going to take this one at a time. So product means I need to do this first because product means to multiply. 1/3 times negative 1/3 times negative 4/5. Again, with multiplication, I just multiply across. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 5 is 15. I have a negative multiplied by a negative, so this is going to be a positive answer. Looking over, I now need to add 2/3. Now, with adding, I have to have a common denominator. And in looking at 15 and 3, they have a common denominator that I can create a 15. Okay, so I'm going to leave this as is. How many times does it take 3 to get it into 15? 3 times 5 is 15, so I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to multiply it by 5, which is going to give me 10 here. I'm going to add across. Again, my denominator always just stays. 4 plus 10 is 14. So the product with the 2/3 added in is 14 over 15. So this is where we're talking about taking these operations with fractions and starting to include these negative amounts so that you are combining multiple things, not just adding fractions, but also the rules of negatives. Oh, I've written all over this problem. What is the value of 8 3/5 divided by 2 1/2? Again, these are in mixed numbers, so you've just got to change them. Okay, some people sometimes will change these into decimals and divide that way. That's fine, you can do it that way. I'm going to keep them as improper fractions. So 5 times 8 is 40 plus 3. So it's 43 over 5 divided by 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1. It's going to be 5 over 2. Now, anytime I'm dividing fractions, I have to remember that rule of keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction, change the sign, excuse me, and then flip the second fraction. I'm going to, again, I have a common denominator here, which is interesting. However, what I'm going to need, oh, and look at what I did. I absolutely forgot to bring my negative down right here. So I'm going to make sure, and I always try to check back that I keep my negative. So again, that will change my answer because my answer here in this case is going to be a negative because I'm multiplying a positive times a negative. So 43 times a negative 2 is going to be a negative 86. 5 times 5 is 25, so that will be over 25.